Now, out of all the 50 states, Tennessee was recently ranked #1 in election security by the Heritage Foundation. Tennessee's Secretary of State, Tre Hargett, he's been working around the clock to make that happen ahead of the midterms. And Secretary of State Mac Warner of West Virginia says that security starts with having the right laws in place and then actually enforcing them. What a novel idea. Well, we're happy to have them with us tonight. Please welcome back to the show Mac Warner, and for the first time, Tre Hargett. Give him a big hand. Thank you for being with us. Tre, I'm going to start with you. I think it's a pretty big deal to be named the #1 state in ballot security by the Heritage Foundation. What have you done that you feel like other states could learn?
Well, Governor, thank you, and it is an honor to be #1. I know Mac is dipping our heels, so, but you know, sometimes it's not what you do, it's what you don't do. So some of the things we do, we have a great photo ID law that's withstood judicial scrutiny. We watermark our paper ballots, and we do signature verification. We don't let dead people vote in Tennessee.
Really?
Yeah, we do.
I'd never have a shot at winning if I didn't have some dead people voting for me.
Anybody think it's an episode of Walking Dead on Election Day? That's not true. But the things we don't do, we don't allow drop boxes.
Yeah.
You know, you're responsible for your own ballot. You know, so we don't allow ballot trafficking, ballot harvesting for people to gather those up and turn them all in at once. And we don't allow election administration funding to be paid for by outside sources. So it's just a few of the things we've done. But Mac hit on it. Mac has hit on it before. I've heard him say this. It's not just about the laws, it's about enforcing those laws.
Yeah.
And what we saw during the last elections, a lot of states went out there and they colored outside the lines and did what the legislature, those laws did not pass the legislature, and that's how they did those things. So
I think it's very important that, you know, what you've just described are things that sound pretty reasonable and common sense. But I don't remember people making a big stink about the laws of Tennessee, so it must not have erupted with a lot of controversy.
Well, don't get me wrong. We got phone calls during the 2020 election where people would say, well, if you don't do this, we're going to sue you.
Yeah.
If you don't do this, we're going to sue you. And I said, well, I've got great lawyers. Go ahead and sue me.
Yeah.
The difference is, in some states, they found willing accomplices, the secretaries of state, attorney generals, sometimes governors, and they would go ahead and somebody threaten to sue, and they'd say, oh, you got me. Whatever I have to do to keep from suing me. And they'd enter into consent decrees or memorandums of understanding, whether they needed to do. And in Tennessee, we pushed back.
Mac, you have focused a lot on cybersecurity, making sure that the electronic transfer of information was proper. Should we be worried about that?
I can tell you, not just in West Virginia, but across the United States, we've done so much to improve the cybersecurity component. So in the 2016 election, we were caught by surprise with some of the Russian hacking. We've cured some of those. So we now are meeting regularly with CISA, the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency. They've got somebody ahead of that, a West Point graduate, NSA experience, that sort of thing. And they've put Kim Wyman, a cohort of ours, who was the Secretary of State in Washington, in charge of the elections component of this. And so now we're communicating up and down the chain. So when something happens, they let us know ahead of time. We have secret clearances. Many of us are working on our top secret security clearances. And then when we see something from the bottom, an attempt at hacking, we report that up. So we've cleared up we've got the people in place, we've got the policies in place, and the people of the United States of America can be assured that we're on top of this situation.
We hear so much, and Tre, I want you to respond to this. People who say, I don't even know if I'm going to vote. After all, I don't know if it matters, if my vote even counts, or if they're going to properly register it. So how do you respond to that person who has lost faith in the system?
Well, number one, I talk about how you can have confidence in Tennessee. Your vote's going to be counted once, no more, no less. And I talk about several of the things we've discussed this evening and even more about why their vote matters and how it's counted accurately. But we also tell people they need to get their information from trusted sources, that get it from state, local election officials. You know, we got people who research their next purchase of a mobile phone more than they do the candidates they're going to vote for. And so we tell people, don't get your information from someone who has a kitten for a profile pic and 79 followers. And we see this all the time where, you know, somebody will post something, it goes viral, and we wind up having to stuff out the fire. So constantly we're putting out messages about how people can trust in the elections, the things we do to protect their vote, and to make sure their vote is not being canceled out by someone who's voting inelligibly.
Mac, you're a Republican, as is Tre. So, you know, do people worry that you're going to put your thumb on the scale, try to tip it for your own side?
No, once we step on the Capitol grounds, the politics goes away.
And that's the way it ought to be. It ought to be that you win fairly, you lose fairly, but you play the game fair and square, keep it between the lines and do it like it's supposed to be done.
Can I add to that?
Please do. Yeah.
You know, we're the referees.
Yeah.
And if the game goes well and people believe it was called fairly, afterwards, the referees aren't in the newspaper. Is how I look at that.
That's true.
You know, so the last thing I want the next day is to see my name at the top of the fold. We want to make sure that people have confidence in our elections, and regardless if you're Democrat, Republican, Independent, whatever you are, that people can have confidence that the vote was counted once, no more, no less, and their person won or lost fair and square.
Will this election in 2022 be less controversial in its application and process than it was in 2020?
Good question. Let me tell you, hope is on the way. And so Tre explained it's important to have the laws in place. It's more important to have the people in place that will enforce those laws. But then when a dispute does arise, when somebody uses COVID or some other excuse to change those laws, who gets to decide? And so the hope is on the way with a Supreme Court case, Moore v. Harper, that's coming out of North Carolina. And what we hope that this court is going to do is validate the independent state legislature doctrine. And so what that means, let me give you real quick. Article 1 of the Constitution deals with Congress. Article 2 is the president. Article 3 is the courts. In Article 2, the Constitution gives the president the commander-in-chief assignment. So if he sends troops into battle, you don't want somebody suing him and saying, no, you're sending the wrong number or the wrong place and so forth. Why don't we do that with Article 1? The Constitution, Article 1, Section 4 says the time, manner, and place of elections shall be left to the state legislature, not state attorney general, not secretary of state.
It sounds like if we just followed the law we had, we'd probably be pretty good shape.
So we're back to that. It's important to have the officials who will enforce the law, and the state legislature is the ones that should decide any dispute on election integrity. So the state legislature gets to decide, not these people that decide we're going to accept ballots 3 days after the election or without signatures or in drop boxes that aren't legal. So that's where we need to go, and I think that's going to be decided before the 24 election anyway.
Well, I sure hope so. Tre, I got a final question. I'm going to pose it to you. You mentioned a moment ago photo ID. I mean, 80% of the people, Democrat and the Republican, think that's a good idea. Some people say, oh, no, that's an insult. Why would it be an insult to have a photo ID, and why is it important that we do have it?
It's funny. I think now the other side of the aisle has come to realize how popular that is. You don't hear them talking about it that much anymore because they realize it's no longer a Republican or Democrat issue.
Yeah.
It's a voter integrity issue.
Well, let's hope that there is absolute integrity in the election process across the board in November of this year. We needed to restore confidence in our system, and guys like you are doing the job to make sure that we can do that.
Thank you, Governor.
Thank you both, and congratulations for what you're doing in your states. Now, we should tell the people in Tennessee, if you're not registered to vote, the registration deadline for these midterms is Tuesday, this week, and eligible voters can easily sign up online. In West Virginia, deadline is the 18th. Same deal, sign up online or in person at a local election office or by mail. And we're going to have the links for you for all of this information at Huckabee.tv.
Hey, you. Yeah, I'm talking to you. Since you're still here, let me share something with you. If you click on the subscribe button below, hit that notification bell next to it, and click the like button, you know what that's going to do? Virtually guarantee that you don't turn into an AOC fanatic. Do it now, before it's too late.